Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about something that's been online and in the news a little bit recently because of talking about Gigi Gorgeous coming out as being a lesbian. And I was watching Julie Vu's video on YouTube as well. Both the people who I love and I follow on their channels and subscribe to their channels on YouTube, love them both. And I was watching Julie Vu's video and I just wanted to kind of elaborate more on what she was talking about trans women being lesbian. Now, for me personally, I've always been completely straight female. Only ever been into men, never been attracted to women or femininity. But at the beginning of my transition, I was completely unaware that you could be trans and be lesbian as well. I know that might sound weird or strange, and I understand that maybe people outside of the trans community find it all completely confusing. But it is quite clear if you look at it in the correct way. And the easiest way to do that is to look at trans men and women as either, now I hate labels, but the easiest way for people outside of our community, I think, to understand it is to look at us in a way of that I'm a straight woman because I'm only attracted to men. So in essence, I'm a straight woman, even though I was born male and I live my life as a woman. Because I'm only sexually attracted to men, therefore you would class me as a straight woman. And the same for female to male who become men and are only attracted to women, they are straight men. Now, but of course you can be a trans woman and be a lesbian as well, because your sexuality is completely separate to your gender identity. And even for me when I was younger, that it's taken me a long time to understand the difference between those two things. And that is the point, that you can still feel that you're a woman inside, that you were born in the wrong body, but your sexuality can still be gay or lesbian. So, it's not too confusing, but I just wanted to sort of discuss that again because, I've listened to a lot of people say things about Gigi just because, they're saying she's jumping on a bandwagon or she's doing this or she's doing that because she's not really lesbian or, just because of the way she's sort of done it, and I kind of think, however she does, she talks about this, it's going to cause issues and stuff because she's very well known, she's kind of in the public eye and stuff. So, people are going to have opinions about it, which, I understand, but at the same time, it's like, just let people get on with what they're doing in their lives. I know, she didn't have to tell everybody about it. She could have just kept it to herself, but she chose to open up and tell everyone who follows her and stuff. And I'm quite grateful for that as well. That it's nice to have a bit of insight to people that you watch on YouTube and stuff. So but at the same time, I have no problem with it at all. That's her life. It's not my life. I don't know her, so yeah, I have no view on it. Basically, I just think people are allowed to live their lives the way they want to live their lives. I definitely want to live my life the way I want to live it without people judging me or telling me how I should be living it. So I don't pass judgment on other people's lives. Again, as I've said before about things like that, the only time I would have something to say about something is if someone had murdered someone, if someone was a terrorist, or if someone was a paedophile, then I think I would have something to say and I would feel that I had a right to say something. Again, I could still be wrong by thinking that, but that's just the way that I think and the way I feel about certain situations. And again, with this kind of situation, it's like, it's really none of my business how people choose to live their lives. And again, like as Julie Vu said, it would be nice to live in a world without labels where everybody could just be in love with whoever they're in love with, and it has nothing to do with the gender of the person or the sexuality of the person. It is true that gender sits on a scale and we all sit at either one end or the other or somewhere in between or like halfway in between. So someone could be 80% gay and what is it, 80 20% heterosexual. So I think we all fit somewhere on that line. Now for me, as I said before, I think I'm completely a straight woman. I've never been attracted to women. I think women are amazing looking, but I don't find them sexually attractive at all. And that's just the way I am, and that's the way I've always been. And I think that will be the way I continue to always be. And I understand that some people, their sexuality and desire towards different people will change as they get older. I understand that. Some people may not realise that they were lesbian or gay until a lot later in life, which obviously clearly with Gigi is, you know, something that's happened to her in her early 20s. She's obviously wasn't aware that that was something in her life, or if she was, she hadn't mentioned it to us before. Again, you know, it's we don't know because it's not our life and it's not really anything to do with us. But I just wanted to talk about the situation, not talk about her situation again, because I'm not trying to, you know, jump on someone else's bandwagon, as it were. I'm just trying to. I wanted to talk about this situation because I think people find it very confusing, and I thought, you know, the more that people talk about these kind of things, the more people outside of our community will understand where we're coming from and how it works, and that we're not mucking about or playing games. You know, these are our lives, and our feelings are as strong about the things we feel strongly about as anybody else's feelings are. You know, if you speak to a straight person, you try and say to someone, you know, well, why do you fancy men? You know, if you're a woman, why do you want to get married to this man? You know, why? You know, if someone told you couldn't, you know, you'd have a problem with it. And I think sometimes a lot of straight people, they forget that everything that they do in their lives, usually as far as relationships go and everything, is never questioned, or it doesn't come up with an obstacle in a legality way, you know, like it does for us. And so I think sometimes they can take it for granted that, you know, how they are and who they are as a person is the norm, and they can kind of go about their daily lives without being judged because of the gender that they are, or the gender that they're trying to put out to people that they are, that maybe can't be seen straight away, you know, if you're in early stages of transition and things like that. So I think that it's important to talk about these things because, you know, I think otherwise people can get very confused, and then when people do speak to us, they ask us questions out of ignorance, and again, that doesn't make us feel good, it doesn't make us feel comfortable, and, you know, depending on how we're feeling at the time, our response may be quite hostile. You know, and then it just kind of makes it awkward again, because then, you know, that straight person's experience of someone in the LGBT community will be of someone who was quite, you know, blunt and kind of harsh, which is not what we want people to think of us, and it's not how we are as people. I don't think anyone is like that. We all have bad days and stuff like that, but I think that if people have a bit more knowledge, you know, this is why YouTube is so good, and the internet is so amazing, because I really it does annoy me now actually when people are ignorant, because I kind of think, you know, if you're, you know, in any situation, but, you know, even for guys who are dating TS women and stuff, if they say things that are ignorant, I always think, you know, if this is obviously something that is interesting to you, or that's something that's part of your life, if you find trans women attractive, so surely if that was me, I would go online and I would research everything, you know, the same as when I get people saying, oh, you know, where can I go in London? Like, where are the trans clubs in London? And this isn't a rude thing. I'm not saying it in a rude way, but it's like, well, if that was me, I would just go on Google and I would type in London trans clubs, as opposed to go around and asking loads of people the same questions that they get asked all the time. If it was me, I would just go online and type in London trans clubs and find a club near me, or one that I wanted to go to. You know, it's really that simple, and that's the same, you know, with learning about other people, other cultures, religions, all that kind of stuff. If it's something that's interesting to you, or you're going to be in a situation where you're not that knowledgeable about something, then do your homework, do your research. You know, for me, I would rather do that and not offend somebody, or keep my mouth shut if I wasn't sure about something, unless I knew them well enough that I knew that they would understand if I asked them a question that I wasn't sure about. But, you know, a lot of the times we're around people that we don't know well enough, and I think it's important that if you don't really know what you're asking or what you're saying, if you're not sure if it's going to be offensive or not, then do your homework first, because, you know, we don't want to feel like there's something wrong with us and stuff, and by asking us certain questions like that, it just makes us feel like freaks. So I think it's really important to do your homework on certain subjects. And I think that's the same with the lesbian and gay thing when you're trans. You know, you can be male to female transsexual, and you can either be straight or gay or bi. You can be all the same things that straight people are. That's the point. Although saying that, I've never come across a female to male who was gay. I'm sure there must be some female to male transsexuals out there who are still into men. There must be, but I've never seen or heard about one on the internet or online or anything. So that's quite interesting. So if anyone does know of any, then leave a comment in the comment section, because I'd be quite interested to find that out if if it does work the other way around, because I've never seen or heard of that yet. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was quite an important issue, to try and make it a bit clearer. I hope I made it a bit clearer. I probably just made it more and more confusing, because I tend to do things like that. I tend to make things confusing and more awkward all the time, because that's just the kind of person I am. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I put videos out every Sunday and Wednesday. Have a really good day, everyone. Lots of love.